Should you invest in real estate or increase your investments in real estate to build more income and wealth? Well, on one hand, it's been the greatest builder of income and wealth in America throughout our history. From our founding father, George Washington, real estate has been the pathway to success. Yet, if you read the real estate industry news, you'd be scared to making decisions. We're going to talk about that today. I'm Bill Gross, at Bill Gross Probate on social media. BillGrossProbate.com is my website. And this is my real estate weekly market update. Before we get into the details of the news, let's take a look at the market and see where we are, and that way we can have a chance to tell where we're going. Now, big change this week. In any economy, you have two sides. You have the supply and demand. Supply would be the amount of products available for sale, and demand would be buyers looking to buy those products. And this week, we had a dramatic change in the demand side, which is really triggered by interest rates. Take a look at mortgage rates. You can see there's just a straight drop. Closing rate at 6.4% after finishing last couple of weeks around 6.8, 6.9. Almost a 0.5% drop in the rates from week to week. And you can see, however, that the rates have been in this range consistently over the last year and a half or so. This is the range that will cause buyers to buy. But I've said all along, I felt before the economy they would juice it one last time because the government officials who are in power want to stay in power. And one way to do that is kind of like Monopoly, just throw money on the table. Everybody feels wealthier, but inevitably prices go up and you're no longer really any wealthier result. But the fact is, if you're going to buy a house today, a payment at 6.4 will buy you more house than a payment at 6.8 or 9. And so any buyer in the market should look at locking rates. If your rates are locked in at these rates, do whatever you can to close those rates. They'll be beneficial for you. So this is the most substantial drop in rates from one week to next, if you look at that chart, in a long time. Now on the flip side is on the inventory. And that's not really changed. Inventory, how many houses we have for sale any time. And what we've seen is continuing. Here we are, non-pandemic, almost record low. Now last year was non-pandemic, and we have about 8% more homes for sale than last year. But you can see this year inventory is declining nationally. And last year it was rising, and they're kind of on schedule to meet. So really about the same level. The only years with lower inventory were the pandemic years. The lowest years of history of pre-pandemic are way above. And so what it tells you is we still have the lowest inventory, amongst the lowest, in the history of America on a market sense. And it does not seem to be increasing. As long as that's the case, you can't have a market crash unless you have too many sellers who want to sell. And that's clearly not the case here. So overall, I would say their inventory is healthy, tight, and going to cause a continued somewhat seller's market. Now, all markets are somewhat local. Here in Los Angeles, I use Altos Research, and they have a market still at a 39, which is a slight seller's market, not as intense as it was in the past, 41, 42. But all the factors still indicate that we're in a seller's market. And that's my experience as a listing agent. It seems like all properties get bids on them still, and there are more buyers looking for properties than there are sellers. So let's take a look at the news. One of the measures we can say of the bad news is ineffectiveness. You can look at somebody's results and tell you what they're committed to. And here you find Zillow, this is great, on Yahoo, complete crockpot website. Zillow, force of evil, found 8 million renters would have spent 30% or less of their total income mortgage payments if they knew they were mortgage ready. So what Yahoo is saying, and Zillow is confirming, and Zillow knows who you are by your computer. They track everything you do. They're part of the force of evil of tracking on the internet. 8 million people could be buyers, but they're not properly educated. Well, whose fault is that? Well, part of the education process is the news. Part of the education process is Zillow. They're not educating their customers and they're ready to buy. In fact, Zillow's rolled out all kinds of new ways to find rental properties and to put your rentals on the market. They're against the American dream, and here they're making it sound like, wow, people don't know what's going on in the market. Yes, Zillow, because you're misleading them with nonsense, which I report on every single week. 8 million people. We only have 4 to 5 million home sales a year. So almost twice as many people aren't even looking for houses that would be if they were educated. Also, what a damning indictment of our education system. People don't know they can afford to buy a house and start accumulating income at the same mortgage rate because according to that article, the mortgage rate, according to Zillow, who would track that. And it's a shocking story, shocking indictment of our system overall. The interesting article, I think, is definitely a good one for a change. I do want to call them out. Is inheritance on hold. Most Americans understand the time and expense of probate. Now, my specialty, I'm a probate real estate agent in Los Angeles. I specialize in probate sales that go to court to get confirmation and large estates. They're complicated. I assist attorneys in the process. But it's true, most people don't understand how complicated it is to transfer property once the person on the deed dies. They assume if the will says it goes from father to son, that they can just walk in and sell the house. You can't. You have to go to a will. This is the biggest misconception in California. A will doesn't transfer the property. A will gets executed in probate court. And that can take months to get filing and a hearing and authority to begin the process. And it can take a year. On average, it takes 2 years to distribute the funds from our probate. And so this article does a really good job. It's USA Today. They're citing a study done by Trust and Will. Great study, definitely worth downloading. Goes into detail on how uninformed people are about the process of probate, how costly it can be, and then some small tips you can take. I have a podcast, probateweekly.com, with some small tips you can do to avoid that are very expensive insurance at the front end. Back to scary news. If you wonder why Yahoo, who just said so many people aren't looking who should be looking to buy houses, they turn around another article on the same week with their Halloween special, when will the housing market crash again? Ooh, when? not will it. Not will it crash. Look, if we have a world war, the market's going to crash. If we have a global depression again, the market's going to crash. We only had one drop in real estate in my 60-year career. That was the global economic downturn in 2008. When banks went crazy, got caught, and affected all of us. It wasn't the housing market on its own. And here's a case where the headline says, when will the housing market crash? You read the article, basically it says never, because there's more demand. Just like I said, there's untapped demand, and there's not enough supply to allow a crash to happen. So really, this is just a clickbait article by Yahoo to confuse their customers, as usual, doing a terrible job on the education front, and then wondering why that is. Speaking of bad information about education, CNN, classic clickbait strategy, 25 ways to boost your home's curb appeal. According to real estate and design experts they are. Oh yeah, they're experts. No, people who want to sell you stuff when you want to sell your house are telling you should buy their stuff before you sell their house. There's no mathematical analysis. They have 25 ways. Not one of them says spend $100 and you get $125 back. Not one. Because there's nothing you can do financially significant that will get you a net profit unless you're a professional flipper buying at wholesale prices, selling your improvement at a retail price. That's the way the profit is. There is no way that you can economically, now you can clean up, of course, get rid of trash. But they're talking about things like, let's take a look at this. Investing in siding. What they don't tell you is that you can spend $10,000 in siding and your house goes up in value by $8,000. You've net lost money. Adding greenery. Again, I'm not saying you should tear out dead plants and such, but adding greenery, the buyer may not like the greenery. They may want roses, and you put in something else. And so all these are ways you can spend money, and of course, are a great opportunity for CNN then to run advertisements for different products you can buy on the website. So again, these articles and the real estate news just constant sources of confusion, I think, and misdirection. Okay, bad news in California continues from the SF Gate. California no longer has the fastest growing home prices in the U.S. For years, the combination of strict building and the allure of moving to California, the beauty of the state still is, and the great business environment stopped being a long time ago, made our housing prices rise faster than anywhere. Now, as our business climate is plummeting and companies are moving out of state, the housing prices are no longer leading the country in growing. And it's going to start affecting people's net worth. And when that happens, you're going to start to see some changes in the politics, I think, in the state. That's what it's going to take. The latest example of this, Chevron, long headquartered here in California, moving headquarters along with many companies to Texas. Why? Lower taxes, lower regulations, and the fact is, California doesn't want to drill oil. California, when you read the history, it's shocking. The oil industry was basically discovered in Pennsylvania and then really moved to California. California was founded on oil. Long Beach, Huntington Beach, Los Angeles where I live, Beverly Hills, Bakersfield, all were huge oil producing areas. It's sad that California wants to import oil from the most despotic regimes in the world. We're going to import oil from Iran and Saudi Arabia, and not from California, where we can obviously control the regulations to make it cleaner. As a result, Chevron's moving out, and they're going to take with them their headquarters and employees and jobs. Just another example of why California is becoming a more difficult place to live for businesses. Speaking of which, I reported on this somewhat last week, but it's coming to fruition. We had a kind of a misleading article last week saying Governor Newsom was issuing orders to remove homeless encampments. Well, that was really a lie. The truth was Governor Newsom's state agencies have been fighting cities who wanted to remove homeless people, and then they lost their lawsuit finally to the Supreme Court. And so rather than let the news say Gavin Newsom lose the Supreme Court decision, he issues an executive order as though he was trying to help all along. And I said to you for that time, this is just going to be a bait and switch, because what he's going to do is call his allies, other politicians, who will be the bad guys now, and they'll be the ones who'll stop clearing homeless encampments. And as if on cue, LA County, LA City leaders are fiercely against his executive order. And so here's the problem. The order only stopped fighting cities. It didn't make cities clear encampments. And so the city of Los Angeles really wants more homeless people on the streets. This is a business that the city officials love. They get to give money to their contractors. They get to act like they care about people. They can shuffle them from one area to the next. So the local city officials are saying, well, we don't get rid of these people. And so while Governor Newsom pretends to get rid of them because he's polishing his resume for his next job as he ends his second term as governor, local LA city officials are, even though they now have the right to remove them, and they've argued for years they didn't have the right to do that, now what they're going to tell you is that they will not move people unless there is housing for them built by the city, which means they get their political graft and get a piece of the money out of their business. So again, this continues to be a political football, but don't believe the news. There's no way Governor Newsom would remove one homeless person, because again, those are all customers. And this is covered even now at a national level. The Nation magazine reports dysfunctional Los Angeles politics threatens the housing progress. And Karen Bass had she's touting that she's improved homelessness. And I ask you, when you drive through the city, those of us in LA, do you see more or less? I see a lot more. Karen Bass is telling us it's down. But I think they shuffle from one area to the next. They shuffle them out, count, they shuffle back, and don't count them. And so here you have even the Nation magazine pointing out that our own city is fighting her own housing program. And as a result, very little housing being built for a city our size. We're the second largest city in America with the 50th most housing being built. Almost all of it city subsidized, low-income housing, drug treatment housing, very little for residents, and that's going to make housing prices go up and make the housing problem in LA worse. Okay, so I started off talking about whether you should invest in real estate. And the real estate news really gives you a schizophrenic perspective. Yahoo Finance has an article, and here I've bashed on them this whole call. 6 reasons real estate can be your best real estate bet. And in fact, it really can be. Deferring taxes, accumulating, you don't have to be a landlord. You can delegate the work out. There's multiple ways you can invest in real estate. Asymmetric returns, you can invest money and get the leverage because of financing. Some other reasons why. Anyhow, real estate has long been the best source for Los Angelinos to build an investment portfolio for retirement. And it can be owning one property. It can be owning a small piece of a lot of properties. I'm a limited partner in multifamily properties. I have stocks in real estate investment trusts. I have partnerships in different investments. There's different ways you invest in real estate, and it's a great love opportunity. And so here you have one article from Yahoo saying it's a good idea. Yet the same source saying 3 reasons investing in real estate is not as reliable as a 401k. Kind of talking you out of it. I find it funny. Fewer and fewer people have 401ks. Certainly government officials don't. Private employment is declining in Los Angeles. But more than that, why not do both? I know many people who work for salaries, maxed their 401k, and lived within their means, took the difference, and invested in real estate. Mindset's an important part of investing. And again, Yahoo Finance, I think, does a terrible job by making it sound like it's either or, as if, if you are invested in your 401k, you don't need to invest in real estate. I think that's a big mistake. Most people's 401k won't be sufficient for their retirement, and everybody should try to maximize the amount of money they can control and do good with, use as a tool for good in the world. So then Yahoo goes on with another article, kind of to scare you out of doing anything, taking any action. Millions in refunds headed for customers duped by Utah-based real estate coaching scheme. And so what this is it's and I think it's just government overreach again, where these people advertise a coaching program for real estate, and they made claims that were exaggerated, and as a result, millions in refunds. Wow, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you read the details, as always in these articles, that's what I do, you see that the average, let me see, where's the number? 25,000 customers, $12 million is about $500 per customer. And so it's a coaching program that probably charged $500, $600 a piece. Promised it was easier than it sounded, or than it was, in fact. Maybe even exaggerated a few of their sales to convince people to buy. And as a result, they were caught and forced to refund, which is a good thing, I guess, if it is false and misleading. But here's my point. These people only invested on average $500, $600. Shouldn't scare you out of real estate. It should caution you to pick the right real estate coach or system if you're going to do that. I don't do that. I don't do real estate coaching. I do support an event in LA, the LAREIC. It meets on the second Thursday every month here in LA on Motor. Contact me for details if you want to come. Where there are multiple coaches, you can meet in person. And my feeling always is you should get more free material and be able to start the process on the free material and then only pay for it once you want to reinvest some of your profits. Because you're not going to be successful buying your way in. You're going to be successful learning, growing, and doing the work. And most coaches will show you their path. I'm one of them. That's why I do these podcasts, to show you the path of working with me for free. And then you can hire me to sell your property if you need to. And I think that's true of most businesses today. Companies that show you their path and give you the content are the ones you should pursue. I've interviewed a number of them on my channel. I don't recommend any of them in particular. I want you to find the right one for you. There's different flavors, different styles, different strategies, but more importantly, don't spend much more than entertainment money, 10, 20 bucks, 50 bucks, maybe $20 a month like a Netflix. I'd rather you invest in a real estate investment club than Netflix, for example. I don't have Netflix. It's a waste of money to me. I would rather you invest in a coach and learn that way, but do the hard work and be willing to put the energy in, because I find real estate has been, for me, a life-changing experience, changing wealth and income. Every successful person I ever met, while they may have made money in some industry, built their wealth in real estate, maybe the buildings they accumulated or their house or multiple properties. So what do you think? What's your experience in investing in real estate? Put your comments down below. If you please like this, if you like it, subscribe. If I can help in any way, reach out. As always, I'm Bill Gross. Make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.